say something about Devi because some of you don't know her. And, she's really a very, very excellent healer, and she's done meditation for years before I met her. And she did the Acharya ceremony, Sanya ceremony in India, and she's teaching also. So she's really very, very, very excellent in craniosacral therapy. And so I thought it would be interesting if we had some discussion with her about health issues and relationship between health, physical, mental, emotional, and the practice that we're doing, because she's an expert in both. But let's see if we can get her on here. I thought we'd kick it off, by just asking you the question about the relationship between the craniosacral and the healing work that you are doing and the practice. You've practiced now for many, many years. You've been teaching open eyes meditation and so on.
First of all, hello everybody, and it's nice to see you, and it's nice to be here. And so the relationship between the practice and the healing work I'm doing. So first, I want to say that we if we look at ourselves not as humans, but that we are more than humans. Of course we are humans, but we are more than the human experience. So we are basically light beings, light and love. So if you can imagine, that there is this light around us, this huge light circle around us, and we have these energy centers, the chakras, the tanyens, the energy centers in us. So that, and you do the practice, that means you can feel, you experienced some of these energy centers. So you already had the experience that you are more than just a human being. So this is an important, we are energy, we are vibration, we are frequency. And the consciousness is the underlying fundamental base of our experience. So let me just see my notes if I have, sorry. So everything we experience, is perceived, from the consciousness. It comes into existence through the consciousness. So we can imagine ourselves as the ocean, and we are, the awareness is the wave. So when we experience ourselves as a human being, then we are the wave. And then when the wave, goes back into the ocean, then we can feel that we are more than just the wave, and that we are the ocean, that we are not separate from the ocean. So why am I saying this? Because the practice you all do with Premiji is to experience that we are not just the story we kind of be in every day. The human story, which is totally fine, which is a very nice story sometimes it's not so nice. And if it's not so nice, or if it's painful, if we feel pain, if we feel blocks, if we feel tension, then we use the practice to release some of that. And the relationship from the craniosacral work is that first, what I do before I work with the client is that I go into that state, that I take myself kind of out of the healing session. It's not Devi anymore, but I'm tuning into the universal love and the light that we all are at the core of our being. That's why I started with this. Usually, if we have a pain, if we have suffering, then it's our body, mind, soul, or spirit is not aligned, we are out of balance. So with doing the practice, we are also becoming more aware, and this is again the parallel. It's so important. I would not be able to do this healing work I'm doing without the practice, because I wouldn't be able to tune into that, to feel and to listen with the inner eye. Basically, in the Kranyo you say you listen with your hands, but it doesn't really matter, because it's a subtle touch. It makes it, basically you don't really need the touch. It's very nice, for people to be touched, because you kind of get in a different relation. On top of that, you can do healing work without being in the same room. With the Kranyo, it is very nice, of course, if you have the person right there. As you know, when you're on a retreat, it's nice to be in a group, but it's also possible, on the computer to join in, because energy has basically no boundaries. So, so by doing the practice, we become more aware of the physical body with the aches and pains. And this is good to be aware. We want to get into the feeling, because what we feel, we can heal. If we don't feel, we don't heal. But many people are so afraid, they're not in touch with their feelings. So they're basically suppressing and denying all feelings. It's so important. And this is also what the healing work does. You allow the body again to feel, because the body wants basically to be acknowledged. We have to go through the body to acknowledge, that we are not the body, if that makes sense to you. So by feeling the body, and then we can transcend the body, and then we can feel that we are light being, and then basically healing is possible. And this is what, when I'm helping the body to, remember the self-healing abilities of our body, I'm kind of switching off the mind of the person, because usually the mind interferes. Like Rudy always said, the mind is the slayer of the soul. So this is what we don't want. We don't want the mind to interfere. We really want, the deeper vibration to allow, that inner light to shine again, because that inner light is always there. And this is where we want to go, And what causes the pain is if we always want to control everything. And if we have the feeling we are in control, and the more we can let go of the control, the more we are flowing, let the energy flow through us, the easier it is to heal. And we all are healers. We all have the ability to heal ourselves. Some people are more in touch, and this is, why I'm doing that work. I'm practicing, maybe Premiji said a few words, I'm practicing now for quite a while. And of course, it's easier if you have a long-term practice to get in contact, with these different vibrations, with the higher frequency, with your higher self. And then if you leave your ego at the side and don't think, oh, I want to heal, I want to do this. It's not me who is doing that, because it's the energy, it's that innate ability, that is basically healing. So anybody of you can heal. We have that.
So Davidji, what would you say would be, a very important way that people can promote their own self-healing? What is the main thing about that?
Well, the main thing is to have a daily practice. That is the basis of the healing work. If you have specific ailments, you can ask also specific questions. Because maybe some of you also took maybe the course in the Akashic field to, tap into that wisdom, and that wisdom is not somewhere outside. It's all around us. It's everywhere. So, you can ask, it's very simple, what do I need to know? Or what am I not seeing? And to have, a more open approach, and not saying, oh, it's painful again, it's still hurting, I wish it was different, instead of because then you acknowledge something is not perfect, but we are always perfect. It's just our, our thought patterns, which also, have the power to create imbalances. So instead of saying, I wish things were different, I would prefer, this is not like this, or I would prefer it like that. So it's also your mindset you can change a little bit. But on the other hand, accepting the human experience of our very own story. It's not to deny, repress anything, because everything has to come up to be able to let go. And always to remember our true self, the essence, that at the core of our being, we're this field of sparkling light, and that we're all connected. So it's not, and when I say, it's an expression, on the physical level, if it's a physical pain, it doesn't mean that we have to feel guilty that we're doing that to ourselves. First of all, we do the best we can every day. Then there is the collective, and then there's also, from the lineage, from our ancestors, which is also manifesting in us, because, whatever wasn't dissolved in your family is given on to you, and you have the chance of releasing that. So if you acknowledge something, maybe, very interesting example of that, I have a ear pain and I can't hear so well on that ear. And then I talked with my mother, and my mother said, oh yeah, she's going to the ear doctor because her ear is clogged. She can't hear on the left ear. And I was like, interesting, because it's my left ear I can't hear. And I couldn't really think of any reason why I should have ear pain. There wasn't anything I didn't like to hear, or, I was really digging deep and nothing came up. And then it was presented to me, with the phone call of a mother that she told me, yeah, she's going. And really, and the next day she went to the ear doctor and I could hear better again. It was so interesting. So we have to really open up and not especially blame us for anything we're doing. Blaming is never good. Blame doesn't work. There might be different reasons. And instead of, we also, why we are, in imbalance, why we have pain, is usually we are afraid of something. And that is, over the years, it manifests as a, sickness or a pain in the body. So instead of focusing on the fear, we can step into our own power, without denying and repressing. Again, this is so important. So allow anything to arise so that it can heal, that healing can take place. And what is also interesting, we might want to look at our patterns and belief systems. Maybe not everything is like it as it appears to be. We also say, the sun is rising and the sun is setting, but basically it doesn't. It just appears like it does. So, and by having these belief systems, they're more and more finding out that really the body is able to heal much more than we were told. So that is also maybe a thing where we can, put more the focus on. But the most important is to do the practice, to be able, to go beyond that pain and that suffering.
David, do you want to open it for questions? If people have questions for you, might be a good idea, because we don't have a lot of time,
So do you want to have the third question, or you do?
Yeah, well, I had a question from some of the Norwegian people who were asking about how do you know whether you are really getting a message, from the Akashic field, and the difference between that and just your ego talking to you. How do you relate to that?
Yeah. So, and therefore, again, the practice helps to do this, because if you go, out of your own story, then you basically know deep inside, you have that inner wisdom, what is basically your ego talking and what isn't. It's only if we are not trusting in that process. This is also a very important point. We have to trust that, we have these abilities, that we can do this, and that there are messages. The last Kranjo, I get messages in the Kranjo when I do that. And then I'm not telling everything. I just say, for example, your mother came up for it. I had a young girl, she's from Argentina, and I was very strong, from the first moment I touched her, anywhere I went in her body, it was always the mother present. So I told her, and I asked people if they want to know something. And then I said, look, there, your mother came up, At first I thought, because it's very often that's, a mother issues with women. So sometimes I also think maybe it isn't, but, and then it comes up to really tell me it is the mother. Tell her it's the mother. So, and then I just say it, and then she told me the whole story, and crying and a huge release. Or the last one was, I felt, there was some abuse, and I didn't say it like this. And I didn't say anything. And then it was an elderly woman, and she got up, and then she said, when I was young, it was really, my life was not very easy. I had a lot of pain when I was young. So we have to trust that we get these messages, and that it is really not, that we know when it is from the ego. We just have to really believe in that. And this is, it won't happen immediately. You have to practice, you have to reassure, you have to do it. And this is why it's good to ask questions, just send these questions out and send the same question out. And it's not that, you get kind of an answer like somebody is talking to you. You might get signs, or, of course, in my work, it's an immediate response. But for you, if I do the same for myself, when I feel stuck, and then what is it I'm not seeing, and then I get these signs, and something, you see something, you read something, you hear something, you get a message. There is so much more possible. We're just, not used to use these abilities anymore. And the more we're, go into the fine tuning, tune into, it's like a radio, you tune into that, and you believe this. You never questioned the radio that this knob wouldn't find the right station. So you just had to tune a little bit more, and then there it was very clear. And this is exactly the same what happens when you get the messages. If you believe and if you trust.
Thank you very much. Very good. You've kind of addressed the third question, about the relationship between the conscious and the subconscious. by all that. So maybe it's good if people have a question, if they ask you. And
yeah, Devadas is a really good example for the work, that it is possible, and that we have to also, open really our belief system and what we have learned, and that we have to, let go and be more open and really tune in and to realize it's not, only the physical body. There is so much more. And this is, definitely the practice, that helps every day. You have to do that every day, and we have to be so patient. And if it's not coming right away, then we have to just learn another lesson. There's another opportunity to grow. So, I mean, don't you think, Devadas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I wonder about is, the protections. So the practice every day can cause like a pressure cooker, and then it's like to let go and to connect with the old shocks, and how to switch the nervous system towards the safety, and the remembrance of playfulness and openness, and is the practice going to like to really just open, and that it's safe to feel, and that it's safe to, no matter how much the pressure cooker, it will eventually like land in my body.
It's very good that you mentioned that, because as we all know, energy can be extremely powerful, and this is why it's good to do it with depth over time, because our physical body can't handle everything in one sitting. There are, of course, people who have a huge I think these were kind of the Kundalini experience, and they didn't know what to do with it. So my approach is a more subtle and a more gentle approach, because it doesn't have to be very explosive. So if you believe that you are safe in the practice, and you just do as much as you can every day, then you don't have to think of it as a pressure cooker. Just release little by little. And you can also tell yourself, I am safe, because we make ourselves safe. Nobody else can make you feel safe. We have to feel safe in ourselves, in our body, in our light being. This is the only way to really feel safe, because otherwise no insurance can you give any safety. Nobody else can give you any safety. They can support you, but you're the only one who can make you feel safe. So by really being very patient, very gentle with your practice, if you have the feeling there is something really, that makes you afraid, just take a little bit more time, so that it doesn't, come out all. But also there is nothing that could happen to you if you trust that, you can handle, and you get only so much you can handle. There are exercises you can do, for your nervous system to come out of the fight and flight, to be more relaxed, and of course the most simple and the most important is the breathing. Just take, like 4 inhale and 6 exhale with the mouth. This is the vagus nerve breathing. Very simple, but very effective. If you do, if you have the feeling, oh my God, it gets too much in the practice, just go back to the breathing and just slow down and just settle down, and then start again. Does that answer the question?
Yeah. So is this the same like co-regulation also? So this practice can also, to connect to co-regulate, to re-experience the safety that it's
So of course, I did all that, with the co-regulation, with all these words. What I would suggest for you is, to get more out of the head and more into the heart, because otherwise you get stuck in, oh, I have to co-regulate, I have to do this, I have to do that. It's more about really bringing, especially when you're in the head, come down into the heart and into the hara. It's where the solar plexus, it's in the belly. Very important. Just bring it down, bring it down, bring it down, and then into the earth. Ground yourself. Because what happens, then you just up there, and then you get insecure, and then you don't know what to do with this, and then we just ground you, because this is where we are in this reality. Okay, we're in this body, we are on this earth. Ground yourself, and then just again keep on breathing. Start again with the practice, and the energy circulation breathing is so powerful and so sufficient. It sounds so boring, but it really is very good to practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I think we will get David to come back and do another session and have more detailed questions, because there's a lot to explore. And so she has a lot of knowledge about how to deal with these very practical things. And that's very good. And we will talk a little bit about this stuff, Kari, på norsk. Når vi på torsdag så skal vi ta opp noen av de samme problemene eller utfordringene der. Okay? So, all right. Any last word from you, David G?
Thank you for, bringing me on, and it's nice to, of course, I'm very passionate about this. This is what I really also love to do. I love to support and people, and to help in their own practice, to be more able to, work on their healing abilities. And, the most important is to really feel that we are, that you can connect to your higher self, and that we are also not alone, that we are all connected. There is no separation. We are all one, and we can all tap into that consciousness and get out of the subconscious and feel that we are the light and the love. So
on that note, thank you all
so
very much
for listening. And you can also, if you have any question, you can contact me. You can send me a message, and I can answer that.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you all very much. Have a great night here in Europe, and a wonderful day in America. And see you next week.
Bye-bye. Bye.
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 Bye-bye.
Bye.